Welcome to You Ask, We Answer. Today we will take a close look at marijuana, also called weed or pot. We hope the information from today's program will help students make their own decisions about using marijuana.
Think about all the young people in your life. Do you feel most of them have decided to use marijuana? Today we're going to find out what you can lose by going along with the crowd.
What's the cost of conformity? Let's start by looking at the science. William, what do you have for us?
Thanks, John and JT. We're going to talk with some experts that study marijuana use. We especially want to know what the science says about the effects of marijuana on teens. Our experts for today are Dr. Susan Ames, a professor at Claremont Graduate University, and Dr. Sussman, a professor at USC. Let's get right to some viewer questions.
I've heard that using marijuana is harmless. Is that true?
Dr. Ames, is marijuana harmless? After all, it is a legal medicine in some states.
Again, adolescence is a time of great developmental change, and one such change that occurs during this time is maturing regions of the brain that are responsible for decision-making, impulsivity, thought processing, and just making good choices about your life. So during this time, during adolescence, some youth actually don't feel comfortable in their own skin. In other words, they might have a sense of disbalance. And so, for example, they may feel under-aroused, underwhelmed, sad, too elated, anxious. And so they might try to achieve a sense of balance by using drugs. And drugs temporarily can make them feel better about themselves or make them feel good. Unfortunately, using drugs during this period can affect maturing regions of the brain, those brain regions, again, that are responsible for adequate decision making. And also, drugs temporarily disrupt your brain neurochemistry. Okay, so for example, use of drugs remixes one's brain neurochemistry, but it's a temporary fix. And that temporary fix does not last, of course, it's temporary. So what happens is you revert back to what you were feeling originally and maybe feel worse, and then you seek out drugs again to make yourself feel better. So you can end up developing this really bad sort of way of coping by using drugs as opposed to engaging in more pro-social behaviors.
Okay, those are some serious concerns. Let's go to another viewer question.
I've heard that marijuana can help calm you down if you're anxious. Is that true?
Dr. Sussman, what would you say? Marijuana isn't really a hard drug, is it? How addictive can it be?
At one point, many years ago, the researchers were saying there were these chronic marijuana users that they'd say, hey, I can't quit marijuana, I can't do it. I'm really addicted to this stuff. I'm trying to, and I keep relapsing. And in fact, relapse rates are the same with marijuana among real users as it is with heroin and alcohol and cigarettes. About 65–70% will relapse within 3 months. But so you get these folks who are saying, it's really addictive and can't quit. And then you get researchers, the research community was saying, no, it's all in your head. There's no such thing as marijuana addiction. And that changed around 1998 in work by Henningfield and some others, where they started to say, okay, there really is a physiological addiction component to marijuana. And in fact, there's marijuana withdrawal symptoms that are currently in the current American Psychiatric Association DSM-5 diagnostic system.
Thank you both for your time and for giving us the straight facts. Teens need accurate information to help them decide about marijuana. John, JT, back to you.
So it seems like there are some very real things for young students to think about when deciding whether or not they'll use marijuana.
The experts sure gave us some good information to think about. I know I always appreciate people who tell it like it is.
Now, let's have a look at some more viewer questions to see if recent news reports can be of any help. It's a little segment we like to call The News.
In this segment, we try to answer viewer questions about using marijuana by looking at news reports from around the country. Let's start with a video from Lucas.
I think most of the kids around me at school smoke pot. Why shouldn't I smoke pot too? What do I lose?
Well, Lucas, a news story from Colorado showed that students deciding to use marijuana lost by not finishing high school. They were one of the 720 students expelled because of pot.
We also found a news story showing that when they're in their 20s, teens deciding to use marijuana are less likely to earn a college degree, to have a job, and they make less money.
Whoa. We have one more viewer video. This one's from Jaden.
I think my dad and most of his friends smoke marijuana, but would it hurt me if I did that too?
Well, Jaden, here's some news that may help. There's an ingredient in marijuana called THC. It's what gets people high. A recent study showed that marijuana had only 1% THC in the 1970s and 3% in the 1990s. But today's average marijuana has 13% THC, and some has 20% or more.
Wow. And that means today's marijuana is way stronger than when older people started using it. Also, reports indicate most adult users started using in their 20s, not in their early teens. If you decide to use marijuana while you're young, your thinking will be less clear and you'll be more likely to lose control of yourself.
So, looking at all these news stories, it seems that deciding to conform and use marijuana can lead to some very real costs.
Definitely something to think about. Now, let's go to William for another perspective.
Thanks, John and JT. Now we're going to hear from someone that's led an extraordinary life in sports, Earl Watson from the NBA.
My name is Earl Watson. I'm a professional basketball player, NBA career 13 years, in a league where the average career is only 3. I'm 6'1", which is not even average height for the NBA, which is 6'6". And I believe my only edge in life was staying away from drugs, staying away from marijuana, from alcohol, and being focused, having complete clarity and drive. I have a great school in Kansas City, where I'm from. I've been awarded Lifetime Achievement Awards for all kinds of programs, 30 teams in traveling basketball in Southern California, which is #1 in the West, #4 in the country, and I'm now becoming a professional coach in the NBA.
With all his experience and his new career as a coach, he's a great choice to handle a couple of viewer questions for us. We're looking for information to help you see that you can lose by going along with the crowd. Let's start with a YouTube video from Noah.
I play a lot of sports. Most of my friends smoke, and I've been wondering if using pot will make me a worse athlete.
Earl, what would you say to Noah?
What do you lose by smoking marijuana, weed, pot, however you want to phrase it, is you lose creativity. Without a clear mind and the ability to deal with obstacles and adverse situations, you lose all creativity to be able to grow and to become a better person through adverse situations, which is longevity, builds character, and it builds a champion.
Thanks, Earl. Sounds like excellent advice. We also have a video from Sophia. She's a soccer player with a good question.
I play soccer and I'm pretty good. Will using marijuana make me a worse player? Most people around me smoke pot, and I wonder.
Earl, what'd you think?
It creates a laziness, it creates a chill mentality, and in sports, edge is everything. And edge is not only the physical activity and the skill part of it, it's also the mental edge and the ability to have what we call a motor in sports. That means a high intensity and passion as you play the game and you work out the game and you practice the game. It's a definite disadvantage.
Earl, thanks for your time and your great advice. Seems like there's a lot that young athletes can lose if they decide to go along with the crowd and use marijuana.
So we've looked at the science about students and marijuana use. You've also seen our news reports. What you do with this information is up to you.
Absolutely right, John. We've also seen how even athletes have lost by going along with the crowd and using marijuana.
A big part of being independent is making your own decisions. We hope you'll think about what you've seen and heard today and make your own mind.
Thanks for tuning in. You've asked, we've answered, and now you can decide.